He walked along a quiet, tree-lined street in a nice suburban neighborhood. He stopped in front of a house and stood there for what seemed like an eternity, just staring at it. It was a nice house, modest but comfortable, exactly like many others on many similar streets. Except this wasn't just any house. It was his mother's, and he bought her that house and that car. To be honest, the whole reason he wanted to make money, to be successful, was to make her proud. And he had achieved it. But now, he had just declared bankruptcy. And after doing so, realized one small detail he had forgotten to get sorted. He'd neglected to transfer the deed into her name first. And now, he had the unenviable task of ringing her doorbell to tell her that he had lost everything, including her house. His heart was hammering in his chest. His hands shook as his fingers reached for the bell. How was he going to explain this to her? What in the world could he possibly say? It's ironic that this man, who today is one of the world's most in-demand inspirational speakers, was, back at this time, at a loss for words on the doorstep of his mother's home. But caught up in that moment was a tangle of deep-seated emotions, of love and abandonment, determination and greed, all of which took him to a roller coaster of a life. We'll get back to what happened on that doorstep that fateful day in just a bit. We'll hear that and so much more. Because today on the show, we are in conversation with David Meltzer, one of the world's most well-known entrepreneurs.
David Meltzer.
Dave Meltzer.
Dave Meltzer.
David Meltzer, congratulations for losing $100 million.
David is the co-founder of Sports One Marketing, the former CEO of Samsung's smartphone division, and was formerly CEO of Leigh Steinberg Sports and Entertainment Agency, which served as the inspiration for the Hollywood blockbuster Jerry Maguire.
Show me the money! Show me the money!
Today, he's a best-selling author and entrepreneur, the host of the Playbook podcast, and executive producer of Entrepreneur's reality business show, Elevator Pitch. But maybe more important than all of that, David is just an all-around mensch. And we're so fortunate to be chatting with him now, today, on the Gratitudeology Podcast.
Will you walk through the fire? Would you ride through the storm? Will you walk on a wire? Will you save me if I fall? Will you break through the madness? Set us down where we're safe. I'll be right here waiting till you find me again.
I landed in Silicon Valley, fresh off a 6-hour flight. I had traveled all the way to the West Coast for this interview. Truth be told, David Meltzer is one of my idols. So when I heard he was speaking at Aspire, the white-hot entrepreneurial summit, I knew I had to meet him at this tour stop. Aspire has become one of the leading events for entrepreneurs and business leaders across the country, drawing participants in the thousands who come from all over to listen to titans of industry fire them up. Previous speakers include people like Ed Mylett, A-Rod, Barbara Corcoran, Gary Vaynerchuk, Sarah Blakely, Jesse Itzler. You get my drift. The list goes on and on. I've been to Aspire in a couple other cities, but truth be told, this was my first time ever in the tech capital that is Silicon Valley. I settled into my little hotel that night, got up early the next morning, and headed over to Aspire, being held at a local convention center. I sat around, and after a morning of gleaning inspiration and insights from people like Tim Story, well-known life coach and pastor, not to mention a guest on the 3rd episode of this podcast, as well as Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec, it's David's turn.
How can we attract the people that we want, need, or hope in our lives? And the first thing that we do is you need to know who you are. You need to know your essence. Too many people are worried about pleasing the people and wanting people to think what they are instead of just sticking to who you are. And there's a huge energy gap between I am and this is what I want people to think I am. The math of attraction is really simple. I would rather you hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm not.
So, just who is David Meltzer behind the confident overachiever? Together, we're about to find out. After his talk, I was finally sitting in front of him for our chat.
David Meltzer, thank you so much for being here on the Gratitudeology Podcast.
There's no place I'd rather be.
Your story to me is so fascinating. I'd love to hear just a little bit from your early life. What was it like growing up with mom and dad? How was success modeled? And was there a big sense of gratitude, or was it more of like a nose to the grindstone kind of thing?
So my dad left when I was 5. So my mom raised 6 kids, a single mom in Akron, Ohio, making $17,000 a year as a 2nd grade teacher, and then coming home, packing our dinners in a paper bag, which, by the way, were some of the best dinners I've ever had because my mom's an extraordinary cook.
What would she pack for you guys in the paper bag?
Oh, brisket and, all types of food. It was not as easy because they didn't have as many plastic products back then to be able to have a lot of sandwiches, though, sometimes as well. It just depends on the budget that she was carrying at the time. I learned by watching my mom, which is interesting because I never wanted to be like my mom. I wanted to be like my dad. In the 70s, it was different. He married a girl closer to my age than him and drove fancy cars. And I still work through, in therapy, guilt, because I remember distinctively, one day I told my mom, why can't you be more like dad?
Wow. How many of us look back on a moment like this with regret? Or at the very least, with a different perspective now that we have the benefit of age and wisdom. I know I can relate. Of course, we've all said things in the heat of the moment that we later regret, but it takes character to admit when you're wrong. Rocky relationships between fathers and sons are common, and David's complicated one with his father is tied to issues of feeling abandoned, and perhaps because they are more alike than either would care to admit. David eventually learned that working on yourself is a process, and he would do his best to appreciate everything his mother did for him.
So my mom became the most influential, and my grandparents were the most influential people. And the coolest thing is, they taught me gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. They didn't use those words, but my mom used to make me go back up to my room if I came down with an attitude that wasn't gracious.
Yeah.
Reset. All these, she made me pray every night. And my story really is, I made everything I ever wanted because I watched my mom and learned from her, but I lost it as I went along the way because the only thing that was missing in my life was money.
Right.
Anytime I wasn't happy, it was because I wanted people to think I was something I wasn't, or I wanted something I couldn't have, or worse, I caught my mom crying when we didn't have enough. So I lived in the world of not enough as a victim, a why me kid, and I was going to make it all right by making a lot of money and buying my mom a house.
Which you did. So the success in the early days, I'm sure in the beginning it felt really good, right?
Oh, it was a confirmation that money buys love and happiness. Because I graduated from Tulane Law School to do oil and gas litigation, and I got offered a $150,000 job in 1992, and I turned it down to sell internet. Legal research. And my mom literally said, this is a huge mistake. You need to be a real lawyer. And I told her, I'm going to make $250,000 a year. I'm buying you a house. I'll show you. She said, that's fine, but take the bar because when it fails, you're going to be a real lawyer and you're going to thank me. Well, 9 months later, I bought her a house. I was a millionaire 9 months out of law school.
David was on a roll. He was hustling and bustling. And as if it couldn't get any better, he married Julie, who he describes as the girl of his dreams. Why? Because they met And they met cute all the way back when they were kids.
I moved from Akron, Ohio. My mom had a brother and sister in San Diego. And so she said, if we're gonna be poor, I at least have support of my brother and sister. That's being poor in San Diego where you can play outside all the time, not Akron, Ohio. This girl skateboards in 4th grade when I moved there, right by my house. In 6th grade, I asked my best friend to ask her to go steady. She said to him, no, tell him to ask me himself. He embarrassed me. Dude, she said no. So I threw an egg at her, and then I teased her for years. And then in high school, I really wanted to date her.
But the course of true love never does go smoothly. And David is the first to admit his mistakes. It would be years through chance meetings and missed connections before David could get his act together and ask Julie to be his wife.
And I did everything I could for years to screw that up, even after I got married. But Basheret is Basheret. She is the one who cleared all the interference between me and my potential. She's the one that told me, take stock in who you were and who you want to become. And that's what made me who I am today, with all the other people supporting me with the practices and the mindset, heart set, and handset that they taught me. And my relationship with money as well changed as well.
So it sounds like you had a couple of strong women in your path trying to help you be a man of integrity and of heart and of soul, but things weren't quite there yet. So you were ambitious, and I've heard that you had the Midas touch. Yeah, so what happened next after Samsung?
So leaving Samsung, I get hired as the CEO of the most notable sports agency in the world. Warren Moon was my business partner, who's a famous Hall of Fame quarterback. And I started believing my own bullshit, believing money would buy me love and happiness.
Despite all the glitz of the high life, something was clearly amiss. And while the people around him, the ones who truly cared, tried to tell him, David wasn't quite ready to hear it. Julie must have felt she needed to take drastic measures. It all came to a head one night in LA. In fact, one of the most special nights on the annual LA social calendar. It was Grammy night. And Julie, who had an eye on her husband's bad behavior for a while, forbid David from going out. Anyone who knows what Grammy night in LA looks like likely wouldn't disagree with her. David went out anyway with his celebrity clients. And after coming home stumbling drunk, she gave him an ultimatum. Clean up his act or she was gone for good.
My wife said she's leaving me, and she told me she wasn't happy and I better take stock in who I was. Woke up in the morning hating everyone, and but for a gift, ironically, the first gift my dad had given me in 20 years. He gave me a jacket on my 30th birthday with no pockets.
That's right. David's dad, who himself had been so money and business driven during David's youth that he was all but absent, recognized that David was going down the same road. He gifted him a jacket, which at first made David happy as he assumed it was a designer garment. But upon closer inspection, he realized his dad had sent him a jacket with the pockets cut out.
Because he said, I gave it to you not to wear. There's no pockets to remind you can't take anything with you. And I wish somebody would have taught me that, son. You're just like me. And I screamed at him, I hate you. You're a liar. I sat on my bed, hating everyone that was important to me. And I looked in the closet, talk about God or faith. That jacket was the only thing I saw in the closet. And it just sung out to me, you hate yourself. You're a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, an overseller, a back-end seller. You hate yourself. Take stock in yourself. Listen to her. And I went on this journey for 17 years and still on it. I have, and this may help you, I have a minutes and moments philosophy. It's like, I know I'm effed up, but I'm only effed up now minutes and moments each day, not days, weeks, months, and years. Because I identify the fear in my life and I recognize the patterns of interference from that fear. And I'm very disciplined in moving in the right way, in the right place, and being of service and asking for help.
So you were starting to learn these things.
So I was starting the transformational journey of figuring this out, but I had a lot of lessons to learn.
One of those lessons was about to blow up his world.
I had been involved in so many different projects. I thought I was Midas. Everyone said I was Midas. I thought I needed nobody's help. And I got into a lawsuit and I allowed my ego to get in my way. And so I needed about $5 million of liquid cash. I was putting a lot of money into a golf course in Virginia. I had a ski mountain in Montana. And I had 33 homes that I was managing and developing and growing, and they all were doing well. They weren't bad business decisions, but my ego was the bad business decision because I needed $5 million to keep everything moving in the right direction. I had a $40 million line at a private bank that I'd been with for over 10 years, since I've been in my 20s. I walk in, Midas, and I was like, hey, I need to draw down $5 million. Can I talk to Chris? Oh, Chris doesn't work here anymore. After 10 years, I'm like, okay. I'm all, well, who can I talk to? Oh, well, Steve's in charge now. So Steve comes out, he goes, hi, I'm Steve. I go, I'm David Meltzer. Oh, how can I help you? And I'm like, oh no, I don't know what I don't know. And he said I need to make a line draw on my line. He goes, oh, Chris didn't tell you before he left? We reduced all lines to $1 million without reapplication. And I had never thought that a bank would lower my line when everything's going well, because I didn't understand a bank may not be doing well and they're not ready to mitigate that risk. And so I lost over $100 million. I didn't want to tell anyone, and I even waited till like the last minute to tell my mom. And I walked to my mom's house, which I bought for her.
And this is where we came in. What happened next was not at all what David expected.
And she got to the door and I just broke down crying. I'm thinking, this woman loves me because of my money, and now I'm going to tell her that I'm bankrupt. I started crying. She's like, oh my God, is everything okay? Is everything okay with you and the kids and Julie? Is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything's okay, Mom. I just have to tell you something. And I'm crying. And she's like, what? I go, I lost everything. I went bankrupt. Oh. I go, no, Mom, I lost everything, including your house. I didn't take my name off of your title. Oh, do you need some money? I was like, Mom, I don't think you heard me. Oh no, I heard you, sweetheart. Are you okay? What can I do for you? And at that moment, I realized that money doesn't buy love, because I had none. Money didn't buy love because my wife stuck with me and fought with me and helped me. And my mom, who had nothing, gave me everything she had to get me started.
It took losing what he thought mattered the most, his money and his pride, for him to finally recognize and be grateful for things with any true value. Things that he already had, people who were already there to love and support him.
Each of those people that loved me and told me I was lost. And so what I've learned is to reduce the distance between my behaviors and the outcomes that I want in my life. I need wisdom and faith. And I had surrounded myself with people that weren't giving me the wisdom, and they were interfering with my faith. And so, according to what you teach, I went to one truth that I knew: gratitude. Gratitude. I started to say thank you. I started to look for the light, the love, and the lessons in everything. I started looking for what I wanted instead of what I didn't want. I started to say I am instead of this is what I want people to think I am. I stopped buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. All these different things that I've learned in 17 years are now coming to a point where I am overflowing, and I'm able to fill so many other people's cups with the overflows of my life through gratitude.
Well, that's where we're going to kind of bring it home today, because if people were to ask me what would I attribute to my success, and when I say success, I don't just mean the money, I mean my life. And I say this, my husband and I, if we lost everything today, we started in a studio apartment, me, him, and my dog, and we live in a big old house with the movie theater and all the fancy things in it. If we were back in that studio apartment tomorrow, we would be the same. We would be just as happy because we know who we are. We know who we are together. But a lot of people say, grateful. I'm not grateful. I'm not that grateful for my relationship. I'm not that grateful for my job. I'm bitter. I'm resentful. David, how do you stay? Like, this is the special sauce, right? Like, what is your daily practice? What is the mindset? How do you vibrate at this frequency where you can stay in this level of gratitude?
Well, I pay attention to and give intention to by doing, saying, thinking, feeling, believing in a trajectory of what I anticipate in my life. And I identify what I'm doing to interfere with that movement. And gratitude is the start of it, because through gratitude, it gives me the perspective to find the light, love, and lessons in the mistakes, failures, setbacks, voids, shortages, obstacles, successes, defining moments, historical relevances. What I realized was that in the infinite past, that we only limit ourselves by the meaning we give it. And the best meaning that we can give our past is to be grateful for it and forgiving of it, because forgiveness is a reflection of gratitude and love. And so when I am afraid of the past or afraid of the future, and I get angry or offended or guilty or resentful or separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, guilty, whatever it is, I say to myself, why? What meaning am I giving to the past? And how can I find the light, the love, and the lessons through gratitude and forgiveness in order to not limit my future? Because it is only my self-image that will limit my future. And what increases our self-image is the meaning we give our past. And what gives the greatest meaning to our past is a practice of every day being grateful, making pain not a punishment, but a promotion. Pain is an indicator you have a better place to be. And through gratitude and forgiveness, I'm able to make it that. You provide more value, you'll be closer to where you want to be. But also accessibility to others to share that productivity or value, but also accessibility to what you want. I shifted the entire paradigm of my life through gratitude. Instead of wanting more, wisdom and faith is what's going to get you out of that hustle. Why? Because instead of wanting more, you're going to realize I am. By looking for the clues of fear and the patterns of how you react to fear, which is part of human nature, that we have inherent with us ways to react for fear. And if we get better at identifying the fear and the reaction to fear, we can shorten the distance of resistance via time to get back to center, to get at ease through gratitude.
In your opinion, what's more important? Cultivating gratitude to feel it yourself or showing gratitude towards others? Or are they really two different tracks?
They're the same thing. You can't find outside of you what you can't see inside of you. So if you see gratitude within yourself, that will be projected out to others. You will see it in others. We get what we want. That's why the attention plus intention equals the karma, coincidences, results, consequences, whatever you want. It's a mathematical equation of gratitude.
David has often spoken about this, something even the most stubbornly logical of us can appreciate. Somewhere between what our brain thinks we have to do and what our heart wants to believe is the place where we can make magic truly happen.
Tell us about the karmic equation, because you blow my mind. You blow my mind with this.
So people think that I'm super lucky, and I understand why. Because if you look at me and look at my life, I'm not 6'5". I'm not an incredible athlete or extremely brilliant. It's like, how does this guy have this life? I'll tell you how. Because I believe there's a mathematical equation of karma or luck. And what I've learned is I know how to enjoy every day consistently, paying attention to what I want each day by aligning the meaning of the past, the light, the love, and the lessons through gratitude into a future I think I want. Each day I'm looking at, here's what I do with the activities I get paid, don't get paid for, planned, unplanned, and sleep, non-negotiables. And what I say to myself is, okay, I'm going to pay attention to these activities, but I'm going to give it my full intention, aligned with where I want to be in the future today, and make sure I'm aligned with gratitude as well. Attention plus what I do, say, think, feel, and believe, which are 5 intentions. If you do something towards something, it's an intention. Say, believe, feel, all it's intention. Therefore, attention plus intention equals karma, luck, consequence, coincidence, results of what you want and better. And that equation has helped so many people around the world to simplify, am I really doing, saying, thinking, feeling, believing aligned with what I want, or am I lying to myself and allowing fear and the reaction to fear to interfere with what I want?
So do you check in with yourself every day? Because I see you giving so much of yourself. You help young entrepreneurs. You help anyone who asks. It is incredible, David. I don't think I've ever seen it to the extent that you serve. Is it just cyclical? Is that how you keep the vibes high?
I'm connected to an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing, infinite system that loves, protects, and promotes me. You can give it any definition by philosophy, theory, religion, or spirituality, or a combination thereof. I don't care. I basically believe there's something bigger than me that loves me more than my mom. That's the simplest way to say it. But what changes your life when that paradigm shift happens is you're then able to realize, holy crap, like Bob Proctor, my mentor, taught me, I have enough power in my pinky to light up Manhattan. I must be interfering with that power. That's enormous. That's infinite and abundant. Therefore, how do I maintain that? By not interfering, or if I stay at ease, I'll be able to utilize that power. And if I study time, I'll be able to put it into the man-made construct in which the power can be utilized in a direction towards what I want. So therefore, I have number one, non-negotiables, sleep being the number one. 7 hours is blocked out in my calendar to recover and access information every day. Non-negotiable, as if President Obama wanted to meet with me all of a sudden for 7 hours, nothing would get in my way. I'd cancel this speaking engagement if Jesus wanted to meet with me. I don't care. That's how much I take into consideration sleep. Then I have about 3 hours of non-negotiables, which is under the understanding of physics, 2 minutes a day at anything, if you do it every day, equals the same productivity, accessibility, and gratitude as 2 hours on a Saturday. It creates the three characteristics of energy. It aggregates time, it accelerates time, and it creates exponential results from your time. So I have 7 hours of sleep, non-negotiable, minimum of 2 minutes a day with each of my daughters, 30 minutes a day with my wife, minimum, 30 minutes with my 13-year-old son, minimum, minute a day with my mom to tell her I'm happy, healthy, love, and appreciate her, because that's all that she really wants. She wants to know that I'm happy, healthy, love, and appreciate her. All the other stuff's nonsense, and I've learned that. Then I spend a minimum of an hour a day on my health, minimum of an hour a day in meditation, all the different things that I do. So when you take in family, finance, fitness, faith, it equals about 3 hours minimum every day, minimum. 7 plus 3 is 10. I have 14 hours a day of awake time to utilize an omniscient, all-powerful source however I want. So my real challenge that people don't see behind the IGs and the LinkedIns and the Instagrams and the interviews and the speeches and the coaching and the whatever else I do in the day, what they don't see is that I actually am just in the practice of identifying fear and shortening the amount of time. Every single day I'm afraid 8 times on average. But I don't spend but minutes and moments interfering with where I want to be, who I can help, and who can help me. So I know what I want every day and how to get it done best. I apply inspiration. It's a whole different paradigm shift than trying to get more, trying to hustle my way to things.
So are you so structured that you just don't get stuck in the fear, or do you have a technique that you use to push past it, to take action?
It's so interesting you said to push past it and take action, because that was the initial practice that I thought would work. Going over it, under it, through it, around it, lying to it, cheating it, manipulating it, denying it, resisting it. That's the football in me. It's the idiot in me. What I realized was that when I could identify fear as a clue that something was going to create resistance in my life, and then start identifying the patterns of that resistance, the need to be offended, the need to be right, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, guilty. What if instead of resisting, going over and under it, I just stopped? My mom taught me another valuable lesson: stop. Breathe, drop. Get centered, recollect, remind, and remember what you actually do want with today in the trajectory of what you anticipate for a future. Realign the meaning of what's going on here with where you want to be, not where you don't want to be, or what other people want for you, or what's missing, and start rolling into where you want to be. So I have a practice. I identify fear, and then I stop, and then I drop, and then I roll.
And that is one valuable lesson maybe all mothers should teach their kids. It's the equivalent of knowing how to take a punch. Resisting only makes it hurt more. When life hits you in the face, the best thing you can do is roll with the blow. We can only really grow after enduring those hits, because if we're wise enough, we learn from them. Having suffered ourselves, hopefully we make the effort to help others who are suffering and ultimately be conscious of not being the cause of anyone else's pain.
If you could talk to some of these young kids on the come up, right? Because the ironic thing about Jerry Maguire, the movie that was modeled after your agency, is that it really was about a hot to trot agent who got out over his skis and then everything toppled, right? And that's kind of what happened to you. So if you could give a piece of advice with all of your wisdom, what would that piece of advice be?
It's the advice that sits on my nightstand today. It's the prayer that I give every morning. It's one based off of gratitude. Whether you're 16, 26, 36, 46, or 56 like I am today, the first thing I thought about is may God put at least 10 people in front of me that I can help, and may God put at least 10 people in front of me that can help me. So my advice is to live your life by who you can help and who can help you. Create a community of people that want to help each other and know people that will help each other. Because if you do, no matter what size that community is, you will build a community, a frequency.
I heard David give that advice earlier in the day on stage when he had the rapt attention of a couple thousand eyeballs. And it made me realize what an impact he truly is having every single day.
If you want to attract the people that you need in your life, hope, wish, and pray for, you have to realize that 10% of the people are going to hate you. Yes. No matter what. First, we need to know our frequency and then enjoy our frequency and be consistent and persistent in the pursuit of the truth of our frequency. And slowly but surely, the other 80% will be attracted to us in a spectrum of who lies within some sort of frequency that resonates with them.
So I don't need to stand in front of cars I don't own or shouldn't own. I don't need to fly private and show it off to people. I don't need to worry about what people think I am, because but for minutes and moments, I know who I am. I'm happy, healthy, because what I know about the truth and my truth of self is that one particle of light overcomes 1,000,000 particles of darkness. And if you're on social media, the darkness is loud. It's loud, even if you don't want to look at it. If they say you're a scammer, a cheater, you're an idiot, whatever beautiful things they want to project onto you, because hurt people. Although that's loud in that comment, it's weak. It's weak because I know what it's based on. It's not based on gratitude and forgiveness, accountability and inspiration. It's based on fear and hurt. And that's weak. And so I want to empower people to sit in their own light and to share that light and to build a community, whether you're 16 or 96. Every day, pray, wish, ask for people that can help you and ask for people that you can help. This is the icon that I live by. I'm constantly looking up here saying, please pull up a chair for me, but don't forget I will pull up a chair for someone else next to me. And if we all did that, it'll be an amazing world to live in. I personally, without ego, will tell you that's the way I'm going to change the world, to find 1,000 people like you that will empower 1,000 to empower 1,000. I'll be over 1 billion people that we can change the earth with, knowing those particles of light will overcome the other 7 billion people.
And mention of those particles of light reminded me of one last thing I just had to bring up before we closed our conversation. David had been even more generous in sharing his time with us today because it was his birthday.
Beautiful. Happy birthday.
Thank you
for being here with me on your birthday, and thank you for sharing with my community.
Thank you for being in my community. You are an amazing icon and light for so many people. I look forward to doing more. Can't wait to have you on more of my shows. I got some cool studios to bring you to and some cool friends to introduce you to.
Love it. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Be grateful.
Aww.
With sheer determination, David Meltzer made it to the top of the heap right out of the starting gate, only to find the high life wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Why? Because he got there for all the wrong reasons. The golf course and the ski resorts, the private jets and the bling. He couldn't quite understand why none of it was making him happy. And it would take losing it all for him to finally realize what he really should be grateful for. Today, he is back on top and thriving, but he also understands It takes work to be present, to be of service to others, to cherish what he had in his family, friends, and colleagues. It's been a roller coaster ride of a podcast, and we hope you enjoyed listening. Many, many thanks to our friend David for chatting with me today. If you'd like, you can follow him on Instagram at David Meltzer. That's all for today. Remember, if you like what you heard, if it impacted you in any way, and if you think it's a message other people in your life might like to hear, I'd be so grateful if you'd give me 5 stars, leave a quick little comment. Those things really help. And share this podcast with your friends, either on social media or just word of mouth. I'm on a mission for us all to help each other focus on expanding our attention towards what's good in the world rather than focusing on what's bad, one person at a time. If we all did that, even to our own little sphere of influence, the world has the potential to be a much more radically awesome place. Stick with me, friends. I've got your back. We're in this together, and it's a great day to see the greatness in the day. See you next time. The Gratitudeology Podcast is written, executive produced, and hosted by me, Jamie Hess. Sound design and studio production by Gotham Production Studios. Our theme song is Maze by Hills, sung by Nadia Ali. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Gratitudeology.
Will you walk through the fire? Would you ride through the storm? Will you walk on a wire? Will you save me if I fall? Will you break through the madness? Set us down where we're safe. I'll be right